Okay. Okay, now it's in. It wasn't all the way in. Do that right there. All right, now let's check. There we go. Now it's in. Yeah, now we're in. Cool. All right. Cool. Let's pick back up again. I apologize to the streaming audience. Um, so tonight's focus on facing realities. So being able to face the current situation that you may have found yourself in, and where things are. So facing reality and accepting the reality are two totally different things. Facing reality, I'll say that again, and accepting reality are two totally different things. When things and people happen, we don't have to accept the condition, state of being, or what has taken place as if it's final. Okay? So being able to face it and accept it, two totally different things. I don't want you to get the idea that I'm saying tonight that you have to accept the condition of things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying tonight is that you've got to be able to face the condition of things. And all too often, sometimes what we can tend to do is we can tend to run from things rather than facing things. And it's important for us in order to face it so that we can change it. Write that down. It's important for us to face it so that we can change it. If we don't face it, we can never really bring any change into it. So now, looking at that, we're looking at facing in order to bring about changing. There are strategies that you can put in place. And so the strategies have to do with how can I minimize the impact of the experience that I've had? And in minimizing the impact of the experience I've had, I can't pretend like the experience I had, I didn't have it. You can't pretend like it's not something that took place. And so how do we kind of walk through moments where we can kind of pretend like things didn't happen? Here's how we do that. I've got a couple of these in here on tonight. We ignore them by running from an issue or a person. Anybody ever run from a person before? Yeah, sometimes you just like, I'm avoiding them. They mess with my space, mess with my comfortability. Sometimes the kids are really known for this one. Make sure that I'm being seen on the screen, not just the PowerPoint back there for me, because I can't see myself. Yeah, can't see myself. Yeah. So we can tend to ignore bill collectors. Yeah, bill collectors. Won't kids jack you up on that one like that? You'd be like, don't answer the phone, but you can't tell them why you don't want to answer the phone. Come on, I just look straight ahead. Nobody else been there besides me. Filling out applications. Sometimes you're not going to get accepted into the school until you fill out the application. Or you're not going to get access to whatever the grantee resources are or whatever the moment is that's available for you unless you decide to really work on filling out the application. Doing the research work, you've got to be able to do the research work. Having the hard and tough conversations. You cannot run from having the hard and the tough conversations. Even if it's sometimes you change the issue. I said, we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it. Yeah. So we can tend to make excuses for said behavior of people, persons, and things all the time. Here's what we do. We tend to do this most in relationships. We make excuses. Whether they be business, romantic, organizational, parentally, we can make excuses for the behavior of our children, especially when they get a little bit older. And we can make excuses. No, at the phase of life that they are in, whatever they may be, 12, 5, 14, come on, yeah, 14, shoot, I got 25, 27, and whatever phase that they are in, they are who they are. And we can't run from who they are. And we can't pretend like they're not manifesting and exhibiting the traits of who it is that they are, that their actions and behaviors tell us that who they are. Real quiet. Because, see, a lot of times, I'm moving to the side, or sometimes on that particular issue because they are our children. It's kind of like when you go to the school. Like my mother she would come to the school for me. I remember she came 4th grade, she came 6th, and she had to come one time 8th grade. She never had to come in high school because at that point I got the mess up. But when she had to come talk to the principal for me when I was in 4th grade, there was no conversation between me and her about what I did. Because she knew me. This is my child. I know who he is. I know who he is not. And so the times that she had to come throughout the year, that year, it was, what he do now? That kind of thing. Sometimes we get into the mindset with parents today, like we pretend like this is not your child. No, this is your child. You know your child, you know who they are, deal with them accordingly. Now here's what I'm not saying to you. I'm not saying they're going to always be that way, right? You know who you're married to. You can't pretend like this is not who your spouse is, right? So you know who you're married to. You know what scenarios and situations they can be in, not be in, handle, not handle. We've got to govern ourselves accordingly, right? Why does it sound like the air just went out of the room? This is coaching. I'm trying to help you. Do you want to live happily ever after, or do you just want to just kind of go along and get on? I really want you to have relationships, whether they are business, romantic, educational, spiritual, that are fruitful for you in your life. And you've got to be willing to face reality and address issues. If you don't face reality and address issues, things will always be the way that they have been. There will not be any change. But you know what I believe? I believe you can begin again.
Yes, Coach. We can begin again.
Sometimes we tend to compensate for character flaws because of impacts, whether they be physical, emotional, spiritual, social, systematic, or financial. We tend to make excuses because of people's situations. Anybody ever had situations going around you before? Positional authority or influence. Sometimes we can't make excuses for people just because they're the boss, just because they are in charge. We've got to make sure that we hit the nail on the head, if you will, so that things are able to change. We can tend to ignore because of titles and positions. I put this big one on the screen on tonight as I'm hastening through this quickly. Look at that one right there. Stop pretending like you don't see what you really do see. If you're going to take a picture of anything and take anything home with you tonight, you cannot pretend like you don't see what you do see. In every area of your life, you can't run from it. You can't pretend like it didn't take place, like it's not happening, because people are who they are at the phase that you meet them in. Doesn't mean they gotta always be there, but it does mean that you're going to experience what you're going to experience until you're willing to face some of the issues. I had a litany of those that I could go down tonight, but I want to make sure I hasten on because I want to get to the solution-based stuff. So we have not yet gotten to what to do about what you see. But we do have to be face to face with what we see. We got to be face to face with what we see. Can I say that again? We got to be face to face with what we see. A lot of times we think, I know, and this is going to be a little touchy, but I'm going to go here anyway. Sometimes we think, because many of us, for those who are believers and Christians, that God's going to do everything. And sometimes we think that because we shun a level Sunday, he coming on a Hyundai, that's going to bring about the change. Don't laugh at me, man. That's my apostolic roots coming out right there. We think that that's going to bring about the change. No. Sometimes it is that he coming on a Hyundai on one end. Yeah. Then there are times after you finish he coming on a Hyundai, then you have to go face to face and address the issues. And you have to set standards of what will and will not be tolerated, what will and will not be accepted, and what the, I hate to use the term penalties, but what the coercive action will be if you do not live up to these standards. Watch this. On your job, if you don't produce, you end up with a work assignment, work writing plan, don't you? Don't you? You get called into the supervisor's office. Supervisor sits down with you, has a conversation, resets the standards of objectives, asks about what needs to happen in terms of the help that you might need. That's your time to start talking about how things can improve, right? I have a question. Why don't we do that with relationships? Why don't we do it with parenting relationships or romantic relationships? Why don't we do that with people relationships? Because sometimes things are not going to change unless you are able to address the issues and be able to face them head on. Am I making sense tonight? So now watch this. When I say what we see, let me back up here. When I say what we see, I'm referring to our sense of, check this out right. I'm referring to our sense of, should be discernment. I'm gonna catch up to you. Discernment, understanding, knowledge of. When I say what we see, I'm referring to our sense of discernment, understanding, and knowledge. The application of wisdom in these instances is a totally different thing. So if you discern that there's something going on with your spouse or your job, like for example, let's use a job scenario. You know, companies lay people off and hire new people all the time, right? Have you ever gotten the sense that layoffs are coming in a job environment? Don't you start preparing ahead of time so that when you get called into somebody's office, you already got something in the pipeline, right? All right, now let's just get on the edge. Let's get on the edge. I ain't gonna fall off the cliff. I'm just gonna be on the edge. Okay. Y'all all right with me being on the edge? Okay. So if you can read the signs in a job situation, why do we act like we can't read the signs when it comes to dealing with our children? Or our spouses? Or our people relationships? And I'm not, now let me just say what I did not say. What I did not say was when in a spouse situation where you get somebody else already lined up in the pipeline. I did not say that. What I said was facing situations to bring to their attention, to bring you say that when you do that, so that we can deal with them and address them so that there can be a change that happens, right? In case you don't remember that, with your children, you recognize patterns of things when they start to take place. Don't pretend like they're not there. So you know at certain ages, kids start manifesting certain behaviors and certain things. When they do, address it head on so that it doesn't have to be an explosion somewhere so that things can change. Am I making good sense? Yes, come on, say this with me. You can begin again.
Yes, Coach. We can begin again.
So now, having said that, how one does what they do is based on what they see is critically important. How you do what you do based upon what you see is critically important. That's not necessarily what this session is about today. Because I'm going to talk a little bit later on in another session about how to deal with some of those kind of issues. And for the sake of time, I want to get to some of the solutions that we have. So, in your notes, here's where you're going to do some writing down with me for tonight. How do we face reality when we know we can't change it? How do we face realities when we know we can't change it? We know we can't change a person. We know we can't change a job environment. How do you realize you sure can't change God? Once God makes up his mind, it becomes important for us to get an agreement with him, right? So here, number one. Notice when you're fighting against reality. Notice when you're fighting against reality. We have to read the signs. Somebody say, read the signs.
Read the signs.
We have to read the signs and notice the patterns. Things don't just happen overnight. There are patterns that lead up to whatever is taking place in the moment of the reality you have to face. So here's what I want you to understand. You cannot change values and core beliefs of an organization or a person. If you're not at the top of the organization, you certainly can't change values. You cannot change core values and beliefs of a person because they believe what they believe. What you got to look for is alignment to where our values are matched up well with each other. And look up to where our beliefs are in alignment, where they are matched up with each other. There's a statistic that talks about, because I'm a preacher, I use a gospel analogy. There's a statistic that talks about by the time a child is 18, if they have not received Jesus as Lord and Savior by the time they're 18, it reduces to a 65% chance between 18 and 30. It reduces down to a 35% chance between 30 and 40. By the time a person is 40, without a supernatural occurrence that will happen and take place in their life, 20% of people will come to faith. So between 0 and 18, that's the time in order to grab and to win, right? So who a person is who a person is who a person is. What a situation is what a situation is what a situation is. You have to decide how you're going to handle yourself in that situation. This is the point where we start to develop management and contingency planning. In the crisis management class and stuff that we did, remember we talked about how to pivot? So in this one, in facing reality, how to pivot without losing what your end goal is. How without losing what your end goal is a strategy. If your goal is to be married to this person until Jesus comes, I'll use myself as an example. I'm horrible with shoes on the floor. Okay? It is what it is. I come in, I put the shoes wherever I'm going to put them at. They're going to be where they're going to be at. And no matter how many times, cognitively in my head, I know, pick the shoes up, Ray. Get them into your room, Ray. Get them out of the space, Ray. I've been like that since I was 12. Right? So, what does she do? Give me your shoes. Right? It's an issue. Be together until Jesus comes. I can't be the only one. Y'all got some other ones too like that. Unless the shoes are a deal breaker for you. Okay? And you got to be careful to make sure that you write out what your deal breakers are. Let's go to number two. Remind yourself you can't change what has already happened. That's something. Facing reality, you have to remind yourself you can't change what's already happened. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. We can't change the past, but you can change the future. I like these next few statements right here. If you're going to take notes, grab these. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. We get to decide how people treat us. We get to decide how people treat us. We get to decide what situations we will or will not be in. Let's just say be in. We get to decide what situations we will or will not be in. Les Brown says, if you don't like your life, change it. Make different decisions. And it's okay to make different decisions. If you don't like the state of things in your life, change the decisions or change them. You are one decision away. You're literally one decision away from personal happiness in your life. One decision away and facing reality. Number three, I like this one. Embrace your feelings. Sometimes, I'm going to get on the edge again. Sometimes in Christianity, we can have an overly spiritualized view of how to manage our feelings and our emotions. And sometimes we can try to glaze over experience about them under a false pseudo sense of spirituality. And one of the things that God does is God's okay with you feeling the anger of emotion or disappointment or frustration or being upset. He's okay with you feeling that. God's issue is he doesn't want you to respond to life out of those emotions because they will pass. Never make long, lasting decisions in a state of frenzy where you are emotionally unstable. Never make a long, lasting decision when you're in a state of frenzy where you are emotionally unstable. Make those decisions whenever you calm down. So listen, don't shut yourself off from the anger. Don't shut yourself off from the sadness. Embrace it. Don't shut yourself off from the frustration. Don't shut yourself off from the disappointment. You need to feel what you feel so that you don't make the decisions that put you in that place to feel what you feel. Can I say that one more time? You've got to feel what you feel so that you don't put yourself in the positions again to make the decisions you have made that have put you in the place that cause you to feel what you feel. You have to feel it. Okay? That's the only way that you learn from it. One analogy from yesterday. The disappointment I had of them using my ball the whole summer and not letting me play, anger, frustration, disappointment, rejection, all of those internalized made me work hard to where I got to the point that wasn't happening to me again. See, so now, but based on my skill level, I trained them how to treat me. They need somebody to handle the ball and distribute it. Oh, let's get ready. My name, first one coming out, oh, let's get ready. Because of what I felt. How many moments have you missed of you allowing the circumstance and situation to teach you and train you so you never go backward? I'm a firm believer that we train and we teach people how to treat us. Does this make sense tonight? So sometimes it's okay to feel what you feel, but learning how to now get to the next step and being able to evolve from that. So now listen, in every emotion, there is a lesson. You learn something in those moments. You learn something in those moments. Come on, let's take it slow. Number 4, I like this one. When facing reality of situations you can't change, relax and get control of your body. Relax and get control of your body. Say it again. Relax and get control of your body. Say it with me. Relax and get control of my body. Come on, one more time.
Relax and get control of my body.
You got to control the foods you eat. Come on. You mad because they broke up with you. Now you sitting on the couch, Netflix, and eating ice cream, gaining weight. No, man, no. Come on, you don't work too hard to get your figure the way you got it. What, you gonna let somebody else control that? Come on, exercise routines. You need a regimented, remember I said that yesterday? Regimented exercise routine. I like this one. Now, this is big. This is big. I'm gonna try to lighten it up as much as I can for the benefit of our audience in the room. What or who you allow into your space and into your body? Women who let in, men who you enter in. Both are extremely dangerous when you are in a moment of facing a reality you can't change. Women, I think I can change him if I just know you can. Men, I think if I just, I wish I could really talk about it. You know how we do, brothers. We tend to put our prowess out there and think our prowess is going to change everything. No, it's not. It's not. Okay? You have to have the tough and the hard conversations about how you feel when such and such happened and such took place. If you don't have them, then you can find yourself 30 and 40 years of just going along to get along. Who wants that? Right? Who wants that? Nobody wants that. So the reason I put this in is because your body is a gateway to the soul and to the spirit. So when you're frustrated and when you don't have control of your body, it becomes a gateway of stuff getting deposited into your spirit and into your soul. Number 5, I'm going to come back to that one in a few minutes. Begin the process. Here it is. Facing realities you can't change. Begin the process of declarations and definitive statements. Start the process of change. I will be, I will do. I will be, I will do. Definitive, declaratory statements. You have to start that. And I know it may sound strange, it may sound crazy, but you got to get it into your mind, into your soul, into your psyche. You even got to get that thing into your body. How many know your body will talk to you? It will talk to you by way of pain. It will talk to you by way of dysfunctions sometimes. Hey, something's off here. So you want to start the process of making statements about changing. Set time tables. Set timetables. Lady said this to me the other day over some spiritual things. So we're working through some things around here. I'm on a time clock. I'm on a time clock. Measurable goals. Attainable as far as it depends on you. Realistic about what you can and cannot do. Time sensitive. Urgent. What's urgent for you and what is not urgent for you. I want you, those are called smart. Those are called smart. Let me do them again. Smart. So you want to be extremely, you want to set timetables. By this time, I'm losing this much weight. By this time, I'm going to be in school. By this time, I'm going to be out of debt. By this time, I will have finished that paper. By this time, I will have dealt with that issue with my child. By this time, I'm expecting a change in this. You see what I'm saying? Measurable goals. Measurable. How will you measure the change you want to see? That's important. If I had to put all my chips on any one of these tonight, it would be the letter N. Measurable goals. How do I measure the change I want to see? How do I know I'm going to hit my target mark or my target goal? How do I know I'm going to hit it? So those are going to be what we call action steps along the way. We're going to get into Saturday morning stuff. But I want you to kind of get this in your mind. Attainable. As far as it depends on you. Some stuff you can't do without another person. But when it comes on, when it depends on you, the stuff that you can change. If you are 60 pounds overweight and you think you're going to lose 60 pounds in 1 month, how many of y'all realize you're pipe dream? You pipe dream. You're not losing those 60 pounds in 1 month. Your body cannot handle that. You've got to set goals for you that are attainable. Now, it's possible for you to do 2 pounds a week, and then it's possible for you to do 5 to 7 pounds in 14 to 21 days. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's use it, let's turn it around into some romantic stuff. Oh, good, we're good on time. Attainable goals. You have to set goals for who it is that you are expecting that you want to be in relationship with. So, you know, this whole, off the air. But if you've never been in the circles with some of the individuals that you're seeing social media saying, I value this and I value that, you're wasting your time. And more importantly, who has God designed you to be that fits well with you? How about turn the question back around? Right? So realistic and time sensitive and urgent. Come on, let's do number 6. And then I'm going to land this plane tonight, and then we'll have some chatting time for 15 minutes. You got to come to terms. You got to come to terms. We must visit the places psychologically of what caused us to believe what we believe that placed us where we are and with whom or what we have. This one right here is me. Coming to terms. Facing realities that you cannot change, you got to come to terms. You have to come to terms. You have to visit the places psychologically of what caused us to believe what we believe that placed us where we are and with whom or what we have. You have to visit those places. Did I say visit those places? You have to visit those places. Did I say visit those places? Yes, sir. I said you have to visit those places. I did not not say set up house in those places. I didn't say buy property in those places, in your head. I didn't say allow that to occupy every fiber of your being. I said you have to visit them. One of the things that has helped me along the way is Pastor Paul Broussard. I don't think there's anything after this. I'm going to land playing this. Yeah, oh, yeah. Back up. Pastor Paul Broussard, I think this might have been 2019, maybe 20, and I could have been 20 because of COVID. What happened 20? Came here, I was under his care for about 3 years at Heavenly Waters or Living Waters, a place where I went that provided for me therapy, spiritual counsel, and accountability. And I went to those places because I needed to get the healing I needed for me, number one, pastorally, two, as a man, and then three, coming to terms with what happened to me and the way that it happened. And so sometimes I would visit those places psychologically, but I would camp there. And one of the things they took me through was the grief process and dealing with disappointment. And maybe I'll have some time where I'll take us through that to some degree. And he took me to the place where he said, now that we've spent time with you, here are the steps and things we need you to do. But every time I got ready to start to deal with one of the steps, I would get stuck. And I got stuck so bad that Pastor Paul Broussard literally, coming here to preach for me anyway, said, you're not staying here, you're getting down to Hitler. And I was upset. And the reality is, both Lady and I were at a breaking point. I believe that if I had not gone, we probably wouldn't make it today. Sure, that's that transparency. I'm sharing it. We probably wouldn't make it. And he said to me, you need to get there because you're stuck right now. I walked into the door, Pastor Lee Boggs looked at me and said, I know exactly what you need. I was like, man, I ain't sitting in no more sessions. Come on, man. I'm not doing a whole lot of yada, 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 yada. I'm not doing none of that anymore. He was like, no. You're going to go to the farmhouse. You're going to work through this book, and you're going to do step 3. Guess what step 3 was? Step 3 was taking time to cry. That's what step 3 was. And the whole 3 to 4 year period, I hadn't cried. I hadn't allowed my emotions to come out in a way that was healthy, that was a cleansing for me. That's a difficult place for men. Because, we have that stoic, I'm going to be the man about this kind of stuff. And we try to act like stuff don't really bother us, but really it does. Right? David was very emotional. But not the point. The point was, for 3 days straight, I cried about stuff from when I was 5, 14, 21, 28, 30. I cried about stuff that I had not cried over in years. Shut it up. Be all right. But he was able to look at me and say, you're at step 3 and you haven't done this yet. And what it did for me was it opened up the wells. I'm running out of time. It opened up the wells inside me. When those wells got open, then God was able to deal. I said, visit those places, right? Go to that next screen for me. I said, visit those places, right? Isn't that where I said go? Visit those places. I had to visit those places. I know I'm talking about the Holy Ghost now. Yeah. Children, they respond in the presence of the Lord. So listen, watch this. Just the other day, psychologically, I had to come to terms with this statement. It didn't happen. And I should have put it there just. It just didn't happen. The lady and I, I'm being real transparent with you. We were in the kitchen, and I was recalling the stuff I had lined up. There were promotions that should have happened for me that didn't happen. There were open doors, opportunities that I know I heard God about. I know I heard God about. How much time? That just didn't happen. And I had to get to a place where I had to face it. So I was in the kitchen with her, and she was just, y'all first met me, so she was so sad. She was just, I'm trying to get into the position. She was okay. She was leaning up against the city. She was looking at me. And this is me. And then all of a sudden she clapped her hands together, and it was like thunder, like. And she said, "Ray, it just didn't happen." And that struck me. It struck me and it hit me in a way where I had to come to terms. And so sometimes you have to come to terms with realities the way that they are, so that you don't create pipe dreams of things that you think are going to be, by learning how to live with where things are in your life. That's the only way that you will be able to make sense. And sometimes God is waiting for you to come to terms. See, we have to go to that next week for me. And I'm going to land the plane, I think, after this. Yeah, tomorrow morning we'll gather at 11 a.m., talk about strategic planning. We haven't learned how to eulogize and bury the things that did not happen. We got to learn how to have our own communion and our own committal services for the things that didn't happen. We got to learn how to bury them ourselves. Nobody else can put the dirt on for you. Nobody else can dig the hole for you. Nobody else can put the embalming fluid in for you. Nobody else can go get the flowers for you. You got to learn how to have your own funeral and homegoing service for the stuff that didn't happen. If not, when you visit psychologically, you will not learn the lessons that you are supposed to learn so that your future will be bright. And you'll find yourself going around in circles and in cycles. And what I want to teach you how to do on tomorrow, we're going to do this, is tonight I want you to reflect on what I'm saying tonight. Even those of you who are online, I want you to reflect on what I'm saying tonight. I want you to get the 2 or 3 things that didn't happen in your life that you are still today, if you're honest, you are ticked off with. You are mad about. You are angry about. Can I push the envelope a little further? I'm going to get on the edge. I ain't going to go all the way off. You are pissed off about. I want you to get them in your mind. I want you to write them down. Because tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about pivot by way of strategic planning of how to work yourself out of it. Because always remember, you can begin again.
Yes, Coach.
Oh, yeah.
Begin again.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm glad that you came on tonight. We'll see you tomorrow morning right at 11 o'clock a.m. for our streaming audience. And we'll spend some time walking through this. Thank you all for tuning in on tonight. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.